looking to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. Around 18 million low-income households affected by the coronavirus disease pandemic in the country will receive the two-time emergency subsidy from the national government starting April. And the coronavirus still rapidly updating and changing lives around the world. Hanoi rolls out mass COVID-19 testing using rapid result kits. Plus in Thailand, 9 million people out of 21.7 million who registered will be eligible for the 5,000 baht financial aid granted by the government. And we're live in the US, Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, Australia, Japan, and many more, all the way to the island of Guam. Welcome to our viewers in the Philippines and around the world. I'm Alma Angeles, live in Manila. ASEAN in Focus starts now. Okay, first up, let's go to the U.S. Silicon Valley shelter in place has been extended till May 3. Let's get the latest from Don Orozco. Don?
Good afternoon, Alma, and greetings to everyone. I am so happy to see
Good to hear from you, Don.
I know, and it's exciting, you know, that our network is getting great reviews from friends all over the world.
Oh, thank you.
And that's really a bright side of the news. But anyway, going back to what you've just said, you know,
Yes.
it was actually extended up to May 3rd, and that will only be for the Bay Area, Santa Clara County region, you know. And it actually covers several counties. And this was announced by Dr. Sarah Cody, head of the Santa Clara County Health Department. She was actually the very first doctor who actually requested and ordered the state capitol from the governor's office to be watchful of what's going on with regards to COVID-19. That is why still,
Yes, please explain to us first what is shelter in place. What is that?
Well, shelter in place is another term for stay home.
Okay.
So that's the what you call this, the trending term here in California, shelter in place. And this shelter in place, by the way, Almano, has a new member state, that's Arizona. Currently, there are 31 states that are out of the 50. 31 states right now are in shelter in place, stay home, lockdown policy. Just to make sure that there is no spread. Dahil apparently, from Dr. Anthony Fauci, he was telling everyone that this will still grow. And that is why most of the governors reacted already by closing beaches and parks and anything that people will actually congregate. That has always been now the effect that is going on here and around the area. As for Silicon Valley, you'll be surprised. Santa Clara, our county, remains to be the #1 destination ng mga nagpa-positive. Actually, there are 890 cases right now. And sadly, today is probably the worst day here in the US, because there were at least today, as of reporting time, there are 500 deaths, 500 deaths for a total of 3,100. So just today, it's 500 who actually perished from COVID-19. And now, uh, what the people have reacted by going out on streets and giving out, uh, um, test kits, giving out disinfectants, alcohol, gloves, masks. There is plenty of supplies right now that is coming out from actually by Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. They are actually giving out, leading the way in providing assistance to all the citizens here in the Silicon Valley.
You're talking about citizens. What about the senior citizens over there? How are they being taken care of? And how are they being affected by this extension of shelter in place?
Well, it is both good and I would say sad as well. Good because we are actually taking good care of the seniors. We are not letting them go out. We have stricter guidelines for the seniors. And the bad side, though, is that a lot of them are not allowed to be visited. That's why while this lockdown is in place, shelter in place is in motion, everything is in lockdown. So there's no visit coming from relatives or even to their respective spouses. As a matter of fact, that has been the complaint of one what's this EMT. He is a first responder because his wife was giving birth, and he cannot go inside simply because he's a first responder. He's the one who actually brings patients with COVID-19.
Oh, okay.
That's why when the wife was giving birth, he was not given access to the wife. Again, just to protect the baby.
Yes.
And some other news here is that the Navy ships, both the Mercy and Comfort
Yes.
is now already working. Comfort is now in Manhattan, and it is there to serve non-COVID-19 patients.
Okay. Yes.
Mercy is in LA to
Okay.
provide at least 1,000 patients, just to give more room for those affected by COVID-19. And
Okay,
then,
so Don, Mercy is for, Comfort is for non-COVID patients. What about Mercy?
non-COVID patients, correct?
Mercy.
And that is in Manhattan, New York.
Yes. Mercy is in LA, and what is that ship for? Is it also for non-COVID patients or COVID?
One is for COVID patients. This the one that was sent
Comfort.
in LA is for COVID
Okay.
patients.
Okay.
And currently, the total number of U.S. cases is 142,801. Ang total deaths, it's about 3,100. So, and they said it could be more. It hasn't been just reported as yet. And one good thing is that I think you're familiar, Alma, with Central Park.
Yes.
Alam mo, Central Park has been converted now into like a mini tent hospital. They actually put up 14 tents that can accommodate 68 patients per tent. And this is just for ventilators. So that if you are suspected of having this, you'll be brought there. And the one that is actually doing all of those is a non-government organization that has been present in practically all emergencies all over the world.
Okay.
So those are the tents that has been set up there.
How are the ventilators in the country?
Well, we are
Are the authorities still at loggerheads, senators, and yeah?
They are still at And then they are still are arguing about producing. As a matter of fact, uh, the president already invoked a law that will actually require automobile manufacturers to come up with
Yes.
ventilators,
Yes.
and it's on its way, and hopefully we'll be able to uh, to come up with the numbers that is necessary in order to
Don,
defeat this
yeah.
COVID-19. Yes.
Um, how is the overall confidence level of the people there with the government's handling of the crisis?
Well, right now, everyone is very anxious because with the extension, like for instance, schools, they think schools will never, we will just wait for the next school year.
Okay.
So now people, since a lot of us are unemployed currently or do not get anything, we are actually asking, the banks for a mortgage forbearance,
Okay.
no non-payment of apartment, and so on. There's a lot of things that's going on. So there's a lot of, as a matter of fact, there is a group now called Red Strike that has been formed in order to fight, not really to fight, but in order to ask the government to support them as well, because the government is coming up with funds to bail out these big companies. Why not bail out also the citizens of the U.S.? That's the base point.
Okay. All right. Thank you
So
very much. Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
yeah, so that's basically what's going on right now here in Silicon Valley and practically the whole of the U.S. And hopefully things will be better. And
Hopefully, yes.
yes, and then I'll see you again on my next report. This is Don Orozco from Silicon Valley for Eagle News, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Don. To Malaysia now, make or break for the country. A second phase of the MCO kicks in, and the Home Minister vows stern action against those hiding COVID-19 suspects. The government aid now available under the economic stimulus plan, and Malaysia's king and queen to forgo their royal emoluments in light of the pandemic. We have those updates from Ruby Tinawin, our EBC Malaysia Bureau. Ruby, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, it's a make or break for Malaysia. A second phase of MCO kicks in. The second phase of the movement control order, which begins today, is really a critical period for Malaysians to determine whether efforts to break the COVID-19 chain of infection are successful or not. Its effectiveness will surely depend, among others, on the people's level of discipline to comply with the MCO, whereby the public is also continuously being urged to stay at home, frequently wash their hands, and adopt social distancing. During the 2 weeks of phase 1 of the MCO, which is from March 18 to March 31st, the number of positive cases daily sometimes trended upwards, and sometimes it plateaued while the number of patients discharged daily increased by the day. Yet, judging by the still high number of positive cases, the government had no choice but to enhance its standard operating procedure in the second stage of the MCO, which is beginning today until April 14, especially in terms of time and movement restriction. Under the second phase, all business premises selling daily essentials, including supermarkets, petrol stations, grocery stores, they are allowed to operate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. What is certain, though, is the next 14 days would give an indication to Malaysia as to whether or not the Ramadan month, which is in May, and the Hari Raya Aidil Fitri this year will be celebrated the usual way. To quote Ismail Sabri said, the one who can make sure there will be no third MCO, no fourth MCO, and we can celebrate Hari Raya as usual are you, the people. He also said if we continue to comply with every directive and SOP issued by the government, I believe we need not worry about the extension of the MCO. Meanwhile, stern action will also be taken against individuals concealing information or people linked to COVID-19, in particular to those who are involved in the Tabligh cluster. That was the announcement made by the Home Minister, Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin, yesterday. He also warned the public that the authorities will take stern action against those who disseminate or fabricate fake news on COVID-19 after being advised to do so by Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Bador.
Okay, Ruby.
Yes,
Yes,
Alma?
you mentioned the Tabligh. Are health authorities tracking the Tabligh attendees in a mosque last month?
Yes, yes, they do. Actually, last week, they were still, as of last week, they were still looking for 5,000 plus members of those people who attended the Tabligh gathering.
Yes.
As I mentioned before, Malaysians, there's a total of about 14,000 of them, but so far, 10,000, close to 10,000 have been tested, and 2,000 plus were confirmed positive. So the 5,000 more members are still somewhere out there. That's why the government is really making that stern, warning that you do not need to hide them, you need to bring them out, you need to come forward. But you see, one of those, like the former health ministry also said, that one of the reasons why they don't come out was perhaps there was no symptoms, because you don't get fever or you don't get any of the symptoms immediately. So
Asymptomatic,
anyhow, they encourage the family to come forward or come to the nearest clinic to be tested.
To be tested, yeah.
Yes. Also, now that the disinfection have started, starting from those hotspots in the area, in the Kuala Lumpur area, in other states of the country, there were news that also criticism received that, the way disinfection is being done is really not following standard operating procedure. So yesterday, there was an announcement made by the health minister saying that they will communicate with the local authority of designated states to make sure that proper standard operating procedures are put in place to carry out all the disinfection exercises. And also today, April 1st, is where Malaysians can start to enjoy the stimulus package that was announced by the Prime Minister last Friday. And part of that is where people on the front line, health and medical personnel, members of the armed forces, police, civil defense force, there's a special allowance allocated for them. There's also discount for also small business enterprises and also households when it comes to electricity consumption. And they also give discounts not only to those small firms, but it's a nationwide discount because it really impacts, like the fact that you stay at home longer and you use a lot of electricity. And of course, not forgetting, this is very good, we get free high-speed internet 1 gig daily for all postpaid and prepaid customers of certain telecom here. Those leading Celcom, like Celcom, DG, Maxis, U-Mobile, almost everyone is giving free internet 1 gig service every day. And of course, not forgetting the SMEs, because they were the one who was also badly hit by this pandemic, and therefore they were allowed deferment of income tax for 3 months, for 3 months. And of course, there is also a moratorium on loan repayments for cooperatives and other government agencies provided to, for all SMEs here. Now, the King of Malaysia and also the Queen of Malaysia has consented to forego the royal emoluments for a period of 6 months from March this year, right? And that is actually in addition to what the Prime Minister has announced, that he, as well as other ministers and deputy ministers here, also contribute 2 months of their salaries to what they call COVID-19 fund. Now, both of the Majesties, the King and the Queen, also expressed their appreciation to all doctors, medical personnel, especially frontliners for their service, dedication, sacrifices in carrying out their responsibilities to curb the pandemic. So he also expresses gratitude to the government, health ministry, and all government agencies involved. Okay. Of course, another good news here, another hypermarket called Aeon added to provide assistance to people doing their grocery shopping. So now they provide what they call drive-through service. All you need to do is order online and then collect your goods at the nearest Aeon hypermarkets. This is to support the social distancing so that you don't really need to crowd in an area whenever you buy your groceries. Alma?
Okay, thank you very much, Ruby. I know lifestyles are changing right now because of this crisis. How are you coping? Are you working from home?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Okay. Okay,
and
so
it's
how is
well,
it?
it's a combination of good and one thing that I really like is I'm able to stay with my family, 24/7.
And how about the kids? How are you explaining the situation to the kids now?
Well, my youngest is 18 years old, so
Okay.
they
Oh,
are
you look young.
enjoying as
That's
long as
why.
there's internet. Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Before you said that people were turning to herbals. Are they allowed there? Are the health authorities allowing this? Remember
Yes,
yesterday
there's a
you
lot
told
of
me about that. Yeah. What kind of herbals
yes.
are that? Is that?
Okay, in Malaysia, because as you know, there are three major nationalities here. There are Chinese, Indians, and
Ah,
the Malays. The
yeah,
Malays are the
yeah.
ones who look like Filipinos. So it's pretty normal that we run a lot of Chinese shops selling herbal medicines and
But do
herbal
authorities allow
different
that?
herbs.
They allow
Yes,
it?
yes, they do. No problem.
Oh, okay.
No
Okay.
problem. Yeah. It is quite popular here, though.
Okay. All right, but at least, but we should go by the World Health Organization, and we're not really, condoning that. We're
Yeah,
not.
that's right. That's right. I mean, the shops that sells Chinese medicine and so on. First of all, they do have permits. Yes, yes, and they have the necessary what do you call background. I mean, you cannot just get it anywhere though. Yeah, there
Ah,
are
okay.
dedicated shops selling. Yes, Alma.
Okay. Maybe you can buy me some. No, just kidding.
Yeah, sure, sure,
No,
sure.
just
I'll
kidding.
put that in my list together with that matcha
I'm kidding.
as well.
Thank you so much, Ruby. Thank you for your time
You're
and your
welcome.
update. Take care. Stay safe.
Okay. Yes. From EBC Malaysia Bureau, this is Ruby Tinawin. We live in interesting times.
USAID is responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, supporting partner countries in their response to COVID-19, and that includes Vietnam. Vietnam is included, and Hanoi authorities now have begun performing mass novel coronavirus disease testing in the community using rapid test kits that can yield results in 10 minutes. We have a report from Chriselle Acuna. Chriselle?
Hi, Emma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chriselle. How are you doing?
Very good amid this pandemic. Anyway, here's the latest from Vietnam. Vietnam bans public gatherings of over 2 people and nationwide social distancing over COVID-19. The Vietnamese government has demanded the implementation of social distancing all over the country, including a ban on public gatherings of more than 2 people to fight the novel coronavirus disease epidemic. The entirety of Vietnam will practice mandatory social distancing from April 1 to 15, Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc said in a directive on Tuesday. Households are advised to keep a distance from households, villages from villages, districts from districts, and provinces from provinces, according to the directive. Factories have to be disinfected while workers are required to wear face masks and keep a safe distance from one another. Everyone is requested to stay home and only go out under absolutely necessary circumstances, such as trips for food, medicine, emergency care, or for working at essential businesses, factories, and services that have been allowed to continue operating. Meanwhile, in Hanoi, 3 more infected with COVID-19 in Saigon and 1 new patient in Hanoi. Vietnam's Ministry of Health confirmed 4 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, taking the country's total to 207, with 2 foreigners declared free of the virus on the same day. The 4 new patients include 3 in the Ho Chi Minh City and 1 in Hanoi. Among the country's total of 207 patients, 57 have been pronounced clear of the novel coronavirus, according to the ministry. No fatality has been recorded. Also, Hanoi rolls out mass COVID-19 testing using rapid result kits. Authorities in Hanoi have begun performing mass novel coronavirus disease testing in the community using rapid test kits that can return results in 10 minutes. Testing stations can operate around the clock and are designed with an area of 3 by 3 meters and equipped with necessary tools for the blood-based tests. And lastly, Alma, U.S. announces $274 million in aid to 64 countries, including Vietnam, to battle COVID-19. The United States has earmarked $274 million in financial assistance to 64 countries, including nearly $3 million to Vietnam to help them combat the novel coronavirus disease pandemic. According to the U.S. Department of State's announcement on March 27, the $274 million includes nearly $210 million in emergency health humanitarian assistance from the United States Agency for International Development, to be provided for up to 64 of the most at-risk countries facing the threat of the global pandemic. U.S. government agencies are working together to prioritize foreign assistance based on coordination and the potential for impact, the announcement reads. According to the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. has invested more than $706 million in health assistance and more than $1.8 billion in total assistance for Vietnam over the past 20 years. Many other Southeast Asian countries will also receive U.S. financial assistance for fighting against COVID-19. Alma?
All right. So, how are you doing over there in Vietnam? Lifestyles, as I've told Ruby Tinawin earlier, our lifestyles are changing because of this crisis. How about there? How is it changing the lives of people there?
Yes, yesterday we were advised that for 2 weeks we will be in a, how to say, like strictly follow the community lockdown, and the social distancing is limited to 2 people, and only the factory owners are allowed to continue their operation, but provided they will be held liable in the government if in case they will be negligent to this issue, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Chriselle. Stay healthy. Keep the updates coming.
Yes. Reporting from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, this is Chriselle Yacuna. We'll live in interesting times.
ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
When visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. Some of the species that you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
In Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Sen said that the government has now drafted a law to allow it to declare a state of emergency in case the spread of the coronavirus uncontrollably goes. There's also fear of the spread of the coronavirus as the Khmer New Year, which will be ushered in mid-April, will even raise the risk of spreading the disease. We have a report coming in from Crystal Ann Ballesteros. Crystal Ann?
Hi, Alma.
Hi, good
Well,
afternoon.
that is true. As always, good afternoon. I will be keeping you up to date with the latest stories as they happen about the current situation with COVID-19 in Cambodia. There have now been 100 cases of COVID-19, 48 Cambodian, 37 French, 12 Malaysian, 5 British, 2 Indonesian, 2 American, 1 Canadian, Chinese, and Belgian. Most of the cases are import or they just get it when they travel to other countries. Meanwhile, Khmer New Year is nearly approaching, which will be ushered in mid-April, as a time for family gatherings, visits to pagodas, which are often very crowded for the 3 main days, and a lot of interaction is done without any social distancing. This brings questions in the measures which could be implemented by the authorities to curb this, as without a local travel restriction, the traditional way of celebrating Khmer New Year will see cross-country travel. This also gives rise to the possibility of a spike in COVID-19 as close contact and proximity is practiced, and in the case of Malaysia, a group of infected people had caused the infections to spread 5 generations. They went home after a gathering and infected their family members. They then went for a wedding ceremony where some were infected. Their neighbors were also infected because of close proximity. Their friends who greeted them were also infected, and those infected from the wedding party in turn infected others. This is a situation which can happen in Cambodia, as there are fears that some or many of the 40,000 workers in Thailand who had returned to Cambodia and went home to their provinces. Some could be carriers and may not show symptoms, and as such, it would be hard to detect. For example, the French tour group, of whom 31 were infected, had been in direct or indirect contact with some 340 people in Siem Reap and possibly hundreds more in Battambang, Phnom Penh, and Sihanoukville, as it would have been virtually impossible to trace all of them. Thus, Khmer New Year travel presents a clear and present danger to Cambodians and all citizens in Cambodia, as close contact cannot and will not be avoided during the family gatherings. Another government drafts law to allow for state of emergency over virus. Prime Minister Hun Sen said yesterday that the government has drafted a law to allow it to declare a state of emergency to fight COVID-19. He said that the press conference in the National Assembly he had to pursue the option of having a state of emergency in order to stop the spread of the coronavirus in the kingdom. He added Cambodia is on high alert over COVID-19, which could infect hundreds of people in the kingdom, and the government needs to have a specific law on the virus because there is only Article 22 in the Constitution and not a law, which allows the king to declare a state of emergency. Article 22 states, when the nation faces danger, the king shall make a proclamation to the people putting the country in a state of emergency after agreement with the Prime Minister and the President of the National Assembly and President of the Senate. Cambodia just have Article 22 which covers a state of emergency, but it does not have a specific law. By having this law, it will pave the way for the government to implement it properly. Prime Minister Hun Sen said the public should not worry about having this law because the government does not aim to use it, but just wants to have it in case it is needed. He also said his government wants society to function as normal. No market, coffee shop, or restaurant will be shut down due to the novel coronavirus threat. Alma?
Okay, so Crystal, and should the government allow the declaration of a state of emergency? Prime Minister Hun Sen said, don't be scared because what would happen during a state of emergency in Cambodia?
Well, as of now, Alma, there is no specific law or measures about the state of emergency because they are still drafting it. But I think it's going to be a big help for the country of Cambodia to have this state of emergency, especially now that the Ministry of Health is telling us that Cambodia is on high risk.
Okay. So, okay. You've also canceled visas on arrival for foreign nationals for a month,
Yes.
effective midnight on March 30, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And this is true. The show, foreign nationals wishing to travel to Cambodia must obtain a prior visa abroad. And then they must have medical certificate certifying
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, okay.
And they also have a medical certificate not less than 72 hours from the country that they have traveled before they come here in Cambodia.
Oh, okay. And then they also must show proof of medical insurance of at least a coverage.
$50,000.
$50,000. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So the World Bank announced that the Asian economies may be pushed into deeper recession, and I guess as a result, the coronavirus spread, specifically Thailand, Cambodia, Pacific Islands would be helped. All right, thank you very much for your updates, Crystal. We'll be waiting for more. Stay healthy. Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Alma. For the news and update here in Cambodia, I am Crystal Ann Ballesteros, and we live in interesting times.
And the coronavirus has indeed changed the way we live our lives now. One that was impacted is the educational system in Australia. Here's Dwight Baloloy reporting from Australia. Dwight.
Hi, Miss Alma. How are you?
Hi, Dwight. I'm good. Good to hear from you, Dwight. How are things in Australia?
At the moment, the primary to secondary schools here are actually on school holidays, which is already scheduled for a term break anyways. But some universities or higher education, not all of them are actually online classes at the moment because there's these health and medical fields they have lab classes are at their university, so not everyone can afford to go online. And I've actually spoken to some international students here. Some of them are actually having petitions for their monthly pay of tuition fees because some of them actually lost their jobs. So that's some of them, their main um, source of income to pay those monthly fees are actually on shutdown at the moment. Some of them are working hotels, but and on a lighter note, they're actually working on some supermarkets because some of them are also working two jobs. So currently, uh, uh, what's a good thing here is that supermarkets are still hiring people to work to restock because it's really needed here.
Okay, so Dwight, what happens to workers who are laid off while what's the government, the Australian government doing about this?
So those workers that cannot work or they lost their jobs, actually, to be honest, not everyone are not fortunate enough to receive those stimulus packages or benefits that will be received from the government because not all of the it's only for those citizens. But those who will receive it, they will receive support from the government, financial support.
So how else has the coronavirus impacted the education system there? Is it the online schooling now for most of them?
Yes, for most of the higher education are online as well. But like as we currently still evaluating, the government still evaluating. There's not really much updates to how will the education goes here in the coming weeks or months because this we don't know when will the situation will end.
And I've been asking our correspondents how are our Filipino friends over there helping each other in this time of need?
We are really mainly most of us because we can't really go out at the moment. Most of us are just talking on the phone or even video calling, and that's how we support each other at the moment. Because at the moment we can't actually visit our friends or family because or else we'll be fined $1,600 if we
Oh.
actually visit our like even our relatives will be fined.
I see. How much? How much is that? $1,000?
Yes, $1,600.
Australian dollars,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Okay. So, how is the Filipino community doing over there? Doing good?
yes. We're doing good here.
Doing good. Okay. Thank you very much, Dwight, and we hope to hear from you again. And good to hear from
Yes,
you.
yeah, yes. Thank you, Miss Ama. This is Dwight Albert Paloloy. We live in interesting times.
Indeed. Over in Thailand, millions will now be able to avail of the 5,000 baht financial aid granted by the government to ease the impact of the coronavirus. And up to 40 more labs will be set up to run the COVID-19 test nationwide by the end of this month. Those updates and more from our EBC correspondent in Thailand, Faye Barte. Faye.
Hi, Alma. Hi, everyone. How are you, Alma?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good to hear from
You are
you, Faye.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, you are correct, Alma. According to the government spokeswoman, Narumon Pinyosinwat, 9 million people out of 21.7 million who are registered will be eligible for the 5,000 Thai baht financial aid granted by the government to ease the impact of COVID-19. And Alma, there are two banks, the Government Savings Bank and the Bank for Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives will also disburse loans worth a combined 1.6 billion baht to the self-employed whose livelihoods are adversely impacted by the virus outbreak. Alma?
Okay. So, Thailand is facing record drought due to the predicted less rainfall. It will affect farms, electricity supply from hydropower dams. Has the government introduced a water management system there? If you know, if not, you can get back with me on that. Just, I'm curious about that as well.
Yes, yes, Alma. For this, Alma,
Yes. Yes, Faye.
She's from Malaysia.
Alma, they haven't implemented formal policy or formal measure for this. But I will get back to you about this for the final.
Let me just turn on.
All right. Yes, Faye, go ahead. Yes, Faye, go ahead.
Yeah, aside from this update, aside from this, the Thailand cleared 100 today. Total cases are 1,771.
Mm-hmm.
The fatality
The
or the
sailor,
total,
the three,
Mm-hmm.
tested on
yeah, sorry.
in the number.
Okay. So the total deaths, Alma, is 12. So the
That's why
fatality
we're
is
contributing
12.
to our number of 69.
Okay. So, Faye, how are people adjusting over there in Thailand with this?
Oh, Thailand.
Yes.
Oops. She said that.
Hello,
All
Faye,
right.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay.
For this, Alma, as you can see, or if you can just, like the surroundings here, the environment, it has a total opposite picture before because of this COVID-19 outbreak. So the people are just, like they are listening to the news. They are very much confident that everything would be okay soon. And for the personal, for the protective equipment, all are okay. The numbers are would be matched to the people here, so everybody could have. And then they are also
Oh,
staying
they
home.
skipped us because we weren't on air. That's why. I was like, how come it's Thailand
All right.
already?
Thank you. Thank you, Faye, for your update. And then
Yes.
we'll be hearing from you. We'll be waiting for your updates. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
All right, Alma, thank you very much. Here are the updates from Bank of Thailand Bureau. This is Faye Barte, and we live in an interesting time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time. All right. Let's go over to Japan. Tyra Lu has some updates for us. Tyra.
Hi, Alma. I could barely hear you because
Join the crowd.
I could hear some other correspondents. Sorry.
All right.
Hi, Alma.
Okay, I'm calling you Faye now. Tyra, what are your
Yes.
updates for us over there in Japan?
Yes, I just came back. I just came back home from work earlier, and at the train stations there were still a lot of people. It looks like we are not heading for an emergency lockdown here in Japan. However, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is already being pressured by several people and, of course, by the Tokyo government to declare a state of emergency for the capital. That is because Satoshi Kamayachi, who is also Japan Medical Association, serving on the government expert panel on COVID-19. So he said it's time Japan makes a declaration and devises measures based on that, referring to Abe to declare a state of emergency to curb the spread of nCoV before it's too late. And almost everyone agreed it's better to declare a state of emergency here in Tokyo because as of Tuesday, there were already 78 newly confirmed cases, making it go over 500. And Osaka Governor Hirofumi Yoshimura, both Tokyo and Osaka, would be main candidates to enforce measures. So issuing stay-at-home requests to residents is highly encouraged. So this is what they said. However, there were information, or residents are actually assured by experts and the agriculture of ministry that the people should not go on panic because Tokyo will still stay the same. So it's just that people will be staying at home. However, Japan has ample food stocks, so purchasing of supplies will not be restricted. And aside from that, according to retail industry and other experts, no need for panic buying and hoarding of food, even under a state of emergency. So this is actually good news for all the residents, as Japan's rice stockpile is huge enough to meet 6 months of national demand. So that is according to the Agriculture of Ministry, whereas wheat stockpile is equivalent for over 2 months of demand. And COVID-19 crisis doesn't increase the amount of food we eat. So that's what the Agriculture Ministry said. So it is not necessary to buy more than we can eat or more than we can consume. And food shortages at the stores are just temporary since production, distribution, and imports have not stopped. And aside from that, transportation in Japan or transport system will continue to operate even in a state of emergency. So when Tokyo will be placed in a state of emergency, it is not like, or when Tokyo will be placed in a lockdown, it is not similar to the lockdown experience in China or in the US, because railways, buses, and public transport must be kept functioning. As they say, it make up the key infrastructure that supports people's lives and economic activities. So it will still continue. And they could not lock down all businesses here in Japan. So most of the businesses will still operate. It's just that they will be restricting people to stay at home to avoid any unessential travels. Alma?
Okay. One last question. In Japan's public schools are set to open in April?
That is very conflicting because according to some news, it is ready to, some schools are actually preparing to open for the 2020 to 2021 school year. However, some actually mentioned that, some governments mentioned that they will postpone the opening of the school until after May 6th. So until after spring break and after the golden week holidays, like a couple of days. String of holidays here in Japan.
Okay.
So it's, I think it depends per prefecture, it depends per city within the prefecture.
So are citizens there alerted by the news from abroad as well?
Yes, I believe so. We already have news translated into English, so it's actually helpful. Actually, this Olympics, which were postponed to next year, it actually helped a lot because so many information were already translated into English, and foreigners could already understand most of the news, especially emergencies.
Okay, thank you very much for your update. I'll see you later, Tyra.
Oh, yes, I'll see you later. This is Tyronel Piliulu from Tokyo, Japan. We live in interesting times.
To Guam now, the Micronesian states of Chuuk and Yap joined Pohnpei in banning inbound arrivals by air, shutting the country to visitors or returning residents. We have more from our EBC correspondent, Irish Dale Radam. Irish Dale. Hi, how are you, Irish?
Happy day, Alma.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm here in the heart of Tumon, one of the busiest shopping districts, enters hotspot on Guam. And as you can see behind me, it's like a ghost town. It's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed. Where are you?
Here are the I'm good.
Okay.
Here are the latest COVID-19 updates from Guam. As of 1 p.m. this afternoon, we have now 69 cases as well as 3 deaths related to COVID-19. Since the last reporting, there were 3 sailors who had tested positive on the USSR Roosevelt, and that number has risen to 36 cases. And now the government is working hard to make sure that these sailors are ushered into the hotels of Guam so that they can have better rest as well as are treated better because there are not enough beds on their ship.
Okay, so how is the lifestyle in Guam changed since this crisis?
Yes, at the beginning of this crisis, many were into that panic mode. People were into that shopping, but I think the business owners as well as the school systems and the government really prepared the public early on. In fact, we have this trending hashtag on Guam called Flatten the Curve, and that is really to assure that the numbers don't get worse than they are. And because of the measures that we took early on, the results are not as bad as they seem. Many have adjusted well to this pandemic, and we were out and about today. If you got some of the videos and photos that I sent. We were out and about to see what were still open. Yes, Guam is still on lockdown, and we got to see that many fast food stores are open. What you're seeing now is the hotel where they ushered in incoming travelers that are now mandated to be quarantined. And the airport is still functioning, and they are doing their best to contain any new cases that may arrive here on Guam, regardless of destination. We were out to the fast food restaurants, and we can see that many stores here on Guam are observing the social distancing. There are many markings on the floor that showed that people must observe the social distancing. Many are out and about wearing their masks and gloves. And it was nice to see that businesses, as soon as you enter, they offer you hand sanitizer. Some have their thermal guns that are checking you at the parking lot to make sure that no one is walking around with the fever. And with the government's help, we are seeing that many are advising people to stay at home and to only really be out for necessary or essential shopping. It was also nice to see, Alma, that some nurses did share that they are so thankful to the community. This is one of the changes, that more people are coming together to help those who are in the front line, from the educators to the first responders to our healthcare workers. They are sending businesses here from the airport, United Airlines, what the quality distributors here are donating thousands and dollars of relief goods and materials, and even food, to our nurses, our doctors, and our first responders. So that was really nice to see.
That's good to hear. Earlier you mentioned about the USS Roosevelt.
Yes.
Yes. So how is the U.S. government dealing with this serious problem spreading on board the ship?
Yes, I believe that they are testing daily, as well as not just on the ship, but they are trying their best to speedily get them to hotels, because the beds at our hospitals are running out, and so the hotels is where they are currently quarantining these patients who tested positive.
All right. Thank you very much, Irish Dale, for your updates. Keep them coming.
Thank you so much.
Stay healthy.
Yes. This is Iris Del Redown reporting from Tumon, Guam. We live in interesting times.
And that's the news for today. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.